Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Mortgage Watch. I'm Ilan Awerbuch of Unitrust Mortgage in San Diego. You know, there's a famous Bob Dylan song that was made even more famous by Jimi Hendrix in the 60s called All Along the Watchtower. And the beginning verse is something like this: "There must be some kind of way out of here," said the Joker to the thief. "There's just too much confusion. I can't get no relief." Well, that's kind of the theme that we've been having in our financial markets for the last year or so. Lots of pandemonium, lots of abrupt changes, and very little concentrated and organized action. As most of you know, earlier this week, the government stepped in and made an $85 billion loan to AIG, which is a giant mortgage company, but also involved in insurances, a lot of critical aspects. They sell annuities, they're involved in a lot of different things. Some people called it a bailout, but really what it was is the government basically stepping in to provide liquidity to the marketplace. The shares that they bought were basically at about $2 a share, so there's no bailout, nobody got saved or anything else. What happened was the government needed to protect the safety and security of American citizens. The financial system that we have in place and its oversight is 60 to 70 years old. It was basically concocted in the 30s and 40s at another time and another place. Nowhere prepared for the things that go on in the modern marketplace. So people are concerned about bailouts and people making profits. Those who have made profits have already made them all. They're people who packaged up securities, who sold kind of worthless bonds to investors, and who got homeowners who weren't qualified into loans they should never have had. They've already made their money and are gone. What we have to do now in job number one is protecting our system and the financial oversight that it needs to remain safe and secure and avoid panic. And panic is what we've had for the last couple of weeks, beginning with the Fannie Freddie takeover and their problems, and now AIG. As you also may know, a lot of the Wall Street firms were really struggling. Lehman Brothers was allowed to die basically because they had chances to save themselves and didn't take it, and their mistakes were really their own causing. AIGs were not their own causing. They did not originate any mortgages. They did not package mortgages. They were an investor in mortgages. So when a giant company, an insurance company, buys a package of mortgages that they are told by rating agencies are AAA rated and extremely safe, and they turn out not to be, who's to blame? The investor that bought that package? I don't think so. It's really part of the system that's at fault. This week also we started to see that there was a lot of speculation in Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs. They're the two remaining basically large independent mortgage brokerage houses. There's a lot of short selling in the shares of that stock. That's basically investors betting that the stock is going to go down. Nothing wrong with that. But when giant hedge funds put billions of dollars at play and are working in concert with each other to drive down the price of an independent, basically secure company, that's illegal, and that's called collusion. There is a lot of that going on in our marketplace, and it's really high time that the government step in and stop doing stuff like that. Right now, this morning, as some of you may have heard, President Bush announced a sweeping reorganization and a sweeping government plan to get in there and clean up this mess. It's probably about 6 or 9 months overdue. I've been talking about it for at least 6 months. But irregardless, it's good that the government is taking action now. In 2 previous episodes in our history, both in the 30s and in the 90s, the government stepped in to salvage what was a very, very bleak mortgage credit financial situation. And the result was that the crisis was resolved and the country remained strong. We have a giant financial system in our country. It really cannot be brought down by these events unless we allow them continue to grow. It's like fighting a fire. The best time to fight a fire is right away before it has spread through an entire area or a block or a forest. Then it takes on a life of its own and it starts to grow out of control. So I'm glad that the President this morning announced these sweeping actions, or asking Congress to take these sweeping actions, which will allow the government in an orderly manner to step in and add order and add liquidity to our market. A lot of the problems that are going on are liquidity problems. The loans that are backed by mortgages and homes are not all bad, but the way our system works, if there are some losses, it starts to take everything else down. The basic loan system that we have is okay. 85% of mortgages in the United States are being paid on time and performing. But the 15% that aren't are threatening to take everything else down, and we have to avoid that. By stepping in to offer liquidity, as only the United States government can, it will help resolve the problem. In the end, these assets will be sold. They will not be sold for 0 cents on the dollar. They'll probably go for 50 cents on the dollar, and the government will end up making a profit on this. Again, this is not a bailout. The people who've made profit on this are already long gone. This is trying to save the homes and the livelihood of average Americans before this thing spreads. In any financial system, in any package, there's going to be people who do well and people who don't. That's just the nature of societies and money. So this isn't a special offering to anyone else or giving any particular group any advantages. It's stepping in and trying to make a level and fair playing field, which is, after all, why we have a government. The news has been very, very positively received all around the world, and I think everyone is breathing a sigh of relief that with a concerted effort by not just the United States government, but foreign governments who have a lot of control in their countries, because after all, this crisis is worldwide, not just in the United States. We're going to see our way out of it. So we're very excited this morning. It's very, very positive news for everyone, and we look forward to speaking with you in coming weeks about all the positive changes that we're seeing going on and a return to normalcy in our financial and housing markets. So this is Ilan Awerbuch with Unitrust Mortgage in San Diego, wishing you a great week and a great weekend. There's good news on the horizon, as we've been anticipating and hoping for, and we'll be back with you again next week. Thanks very much.